Welcome to the Political Matrix News. Politics, people, local, regional, national news. Political Matrix News keeps you informed. We have the sources, we have the truth from inside the political matrix.
Hello, guys. We are back. This is Greg Fink over here in Gainesville, Florida for the Political Matrix News. And joining us tonight, we have our wonderful teammates here, Jonathan Cole and Tiffany Houston. And Tiffany's out of California, and Jonathan is out of Navarre. Now, we just got done talking about the bridge and all the conspiracies built around it. Now, let's talk about who possibly might be paying for it. I think Biden has already promised to pay for everything, not realizing that he doesn't really write the checks in the Congress. Congress does, but Biden, I think, is compelling Congress to go ahead and pay for it. But he's already offered to do that yesterday. But I also think there's insurance companies and other, ways of paying for the damage and repairs and the rebuilding. What say you, Jonathan?
Well, I mean, yeah, paying for all of it was definitely overstepping, but
It's kind of the moment.
yeah. But the biggest thing is in an emergency, the only people that really have money in their pocket is the federal government, and FEMA's in place for just this occurrence. There's monies in place for emergencies.
FEMA's being bankrupted by the Homeland Security. FEMA's part of Homeland Security. They're being bankrupted by the border.
No, there's always been set asides for FEMA, just for this kind of thing.
I know they got enough for this.
The issue isn't rebuilding the bridge. Yes, the insurance companies and we'll pick up, the U.S. government will pick up part of the bill. Maryland will pick up part of the bill because that's a major highway. That wasn't just a footpath that fell, so that's part of the transportation and supply grid. But the biggest thing is that the bridge being down in a major port in this country blocked is actually almost a national security issue. Because like we talked about yesterday, a lot of ports are secondary Navy bases in the event of nuclear attacks. And but also, if look at the impact of this port and the shipments that can't get out, can't come in. And the sheer effort to reroute them, and prices are going to go up. You might as well get ready for that. Prices are already rising, but this is going to impact that because it's kind of like with COVID a few years ago when they had all the ships lined up outside of Long Beach. It impacted. Prices went up because demand went up because it was taking so long to get them all in.
It never came back down.
But the immediate funds have to be available to get what's left of that bridge out of the bay and reopen the channel. Rebuilding it has to happen fairly quickly, but the clearing the channel is the prime objective right now. I always go with the historical allusions. The Pearl Harbor attack, when the Nevada was the only ship that managed to get underway but got bombed, and the captain beached it instead of letting it sink and block the channel, which would have hurt our war effort even worse than it already was. It sounds simplistic, but even in this age of jets and other carriers, port channels are critical to our national security.
Very important.
We have to get it unblocked, and unfortunately, the federal government is the only entity that has readily available funds that can get that going. I think it's already started because I think rescue operations are done now.
I think so. Tiffany, what do you think about the situation with how the support should be with the families and the funding of the families and I guess 6 or 7 people have passed away throughout all this. And who do you think should be handling the liability with that?
Right. I honestly don't know who would be handling the liability with that. These individuals obviously have families at home with children. So, and like I said, they are immigrants who what other support and resources do they have available to them?
I mean, were they do we know for sure they're all immigrants or?
I don't know about all of them, but I know a majority of them.
Okay.
There was a concrete treating or project going on at that moment on the bridge.
Oh,
So
really?
most of the fatalities were actually workers. If you look at the video, and that's something that hasn't been played enough, the ship was yelling Mayday for a minute before it happened, but they actually stopped traffic going on and off the bridge right before it happened. So there were vehicles that went down, but it wasn't nearly as bad, because if you look at the initial video, you see lights going by, but then right about the time it hit, you don't see any.
Yeah,
So
why
it
don't
was
we go ahead and take a look at the video real quick right now?
Well, I mean, it's iconic now. I mean, everybody's seen it over and over and from different angles.
Right.
So, but that was, the things every time I see it that jump out. One was the vehicular traffic. It definitely slowed before it collapsed. So,
It did.
um, it could have been a much more catastrophic.
Well, if it were a
What could
different
have
time of
happened?
day, if it were like
Yeah,
a rush hour, I mean, it happened at 12:18 a.m. So, I mean, that was the only blessing about the entire situation.
yeah,
That happened during very non-peak hours. That had
right.
happened during the daytime, we
Well, like you
would
said,
have
if it
a
happened
totally
at
different
7 o'clock in the
conversation now.
morning or 5 o'clock in the evening, it would have
Exactly.
been a whole different situation.
It would be at a whole different conversation point right now. But yeah, and so
But
I do know the governor of Maryland. He's been taking a little bit of heat about everything here on how to pay for it, and I guess it goes back to the issue we talked about before, the DEI and about who's responsible for it, and so they're trying to everybody's pointing fingers right now, and so I think hopefully cooler heads will prevail. They'll get a good investigation on this, and we will get this taken care of as quickly as possible, because this country cannot afford any more inflation due to any more acts of God or acts of failure of equipment or anything like this. I mean, this is we've got to get a grip on this nationwide. We have a lot of issues like this going on all over the country, where there's just you know things happening, and we don't know. There's espionage, terrorist attacks. I mean, all seriousness. I mean, it could be. There's a lot of different issues that could be just to stop America's progress and to stop America in its tracks. But whatever it is, we got to figure it out and safeguard everything, safeguard all the bridges to where they don't. There's no ability for a barge to hit like that and for it to come down like that. That should
yeah,
be, that should have been fixed a long time ago. And so
well, it's
hopefully
some
all the
form
other
of a
bridges
bumper
out there
system.
that are like that, the Brooklyn Bridge and New York Bridge and all the other bridges out there are going to be safeguarded as well, if they're not already. And
Yeah.
so, yeah,
Well, there's no major boat traffic like around Brooklyn Bridge,
that's true. Yeah,
but I mean, yeah, but this one, yeah, they should have foreseen the need for some kind of a bumper
yeah.
system
A little bit of
around those
planning ahead
pilings.
would go
Yeah,
a long ways.
and actually, if you look at the overhead helicopter view, if you just look at the power poles, towers adjacent to the bridge, that's what they're in. They're in these where they built cofferdams and
Right.
filled it with mud, and there's no way a boat that boat couldn't even have taken out a power pole, but it took out the bridge. So
Yeah. Okay, well, guys, this is all we're gonna spend on this issue here for the moment. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back with more from Political Matrix News. Bye bye.